What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. 2020 was a big year for everyone. We've gone through a lot together as humanity. It was very tough at work, as you may or may not know if you're new to the channel. I'm a full-time doctor, and for doctors especially, 2020 was quite a hectic and bizarre year. But as long as everyone is doing well and we have our health, there's not much more we can complain about. 2020 was also a year where I was blessed enough to actually buy a house and move into a new space. And with that space, one of the requirements that I had was I needed a fully finished basement because I needed a space for myself, a space away from the kids, away from the wife, in order to call my own and be productive, as well as a space to just decompress my mind. And with that being said, let's get into the room tour for 2021. So when it comes to the room tour, I really had two main mindsets. I wanted a space that was both productive and efficient, as well as had a right aesthetic in order for me to be able to come downstairs in short bursts and essentially forget about the world that I was leaving and to try to relax my mind, decompress my mind. As a doctor full time, you see a lot of great things and you see a lot of incredible things, but at the same time, you see a lot of terrible things day in and day out. You're there for the best moments, but you're also there to witness some of the toughest times. And because of that, I wanted a space where when it came time to study and do my work, I had a dedicated corner, a dedicated spot, which triggers my mind that it's time to, sit down and grind. Because as a doctor, you never stop grinding. But at the same time, I wanted a space that reminded me about the other things in life. And in particular for me, I grew up playing a lot of video games. My parents, as incentives for doing well in school, for birthdays, used to buy me video games of all different, various different consoles. And so I have a corner set up. I have half the room essentially set up where there's a nice couch and a nice setup in order to play not only the new generation of video games, but I also have some of my older generations of video games on display. And it does more than you think. Sometimes I just find myself over here looking at these old video games, some of these video games that my parents bought for me for various different birthdays and various different events. And it just reminds me of older times, of the friends that I used to play with back in the day, some of them who I'm still friends with now. Before the pandemic, when I had this similar setup back in my old place, people used to always come and it was always a conversation starter with me and my friends. They would look at some of these old games and just have memories about the times that we used to play together. That was very important to me. I wanted to have a setup that functions as both productivity as well as maximum relaxation. So let's start with my entertainment setup. So essentially most of the furniture that I have down here is surprisingly from IKEA. This couch, I believe it's called the Karlstad couch. It's quite large, comes in two very large boxes. You need a pickup truck or an empty seven-seater SUV to bring it home. But after that, it was very simple to build and surprisingly comfortable. I didn't want anything super fancy down here. This spot is mainly for me and my friends when hopefully this pandemic is over. And it's just a kind of a chill spot, so I didn't want to spend tons of money on a couch, but I still wanted something that looked aesthetic and modern, but at the same time was comfortable, and it was an enjoyable experience to game on, watch movies, and just kind of chill out after a long day. Now, these ottomans, I have a couple of ottomans here. These were, I think, from Bed Bath and Beyond. My wife ended up picking them up. They're good because they double as storage, so you can actually store things in them. And again, I like to keep things clean. When I come home, I don't really want to be wasting my limited time on cleaning. Instead, what I do is I just try to keep things clean as things go so that I can actually enjoy the space. I kept a table in the center. It's a small table. Again, it's from IKEA. And again, it has some built-in shelves on the bottom, and it's good for just storage. And it's just good to have a table when you're drinking a coffee or anything else, or you're having a little snack down here. I just prefer having a table. And to the right, this was an old TV stand of mine. And what I decided to do is just kind of use it as random pieces, decoration pieces, I guess you could say, of old consoles. So what I have here is my original Nintendo GameCube. It has the Game Boy adapter hooked up to it. I remember getting this as a birthday gift from my aunt. And this is my original Indigo GameCube, so I just keep it there on display. Above that, I have my original Nintendo 64. I don't have any games in it currently, but usually what I do is I do switch it up. Sometimes I put various different games in it. Underneath that, I have a couple of boxes of the new and limited edition Nintendo Switch. I have the mini consoles, which honestly I was very excited for. I was really hoping that they were going to make more mini consoles. I do have the original PlayStation 1, and I do have the Super Nintendo and the NES mini console. Now, various different figurines that I collected over the years. I have the 30th anniversary Nintendo Amiibo. I have this other random Super Mario Bros. 3. I forgot where I even got this from figurine. And I also have this collection that has Bowser, Mario, Luigi, Peach, some of the original enemies like the Goombas. This was, I think, a Club Nintendo exclusive from back in the day. So I kind of just keep it here for display. Now, besides video games, I grew up playing a lot of Lego. My mom used to always prefer that instead of me playing with action figures, she would buy me Lego sets. And now, being now 32 years old, I still love my Lego. So from time to time, I do build Lego. I have now small children. They're still a little bit too small, but with my 3 year old, I let him mess around with Lego here and there only when I'm supervising. So here I have two of my more recent pieces. These are just small, like architectural pieces. They also have some symbolism behind them. I went to medical school in the UK, so this is Big Ben from London. I also used to have many layovers in Paris, so here's the Eiffel Tower in Paris. So this table also serves as a dual purpose. I have this lamp here, which has an RGB bulb, and sometimes it's good to just switch up the lighting and the mood of the room. So I have that there. And then I also have the original Apple HomePod. Now, I actually really enjoy the Apple HomePod. I use an Apple TV, which I'll get to shortly on my television, and I've actually redirected the sound from the Apple TV to this HomePod. This HomePod actually has really rich sound, and for a speaker alone, it's actually fantastic. It sounds really, really good. And then for basic features such as, the weather or other random facts, I like just having an assistant down here. I don't really use any home automation. Currently at the moment, I do plan on getting into it, but currently at this time, don't really use it, but I do really love the HomePod. So moving on to the main entertainment center, I have a 65-inch Samsung Q70T TV. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos, I unboxed and reviewed the Q60T. What ended up happening is that my wife ended up liking the picture quality so much, she asked if she could have that TV for the family room. So what I did is I gave her the Q60T and I picked up the Q70T. I'm going to make a separate video about the differences between the Q60T and the Q70T, but for now, what I can tell you as a brief preview, I have absolutely no complaints. This TV is fantastic. Color accuracy, the blacks are nice and deep. It's a VA panel. It has 4 HDMI ports and actually supports 120 Hz refresh rate, so it's fully optimized for the new generation of consoles. Now, this TV stand that I have is also from IKEA. I like the metal look, and I like the fact that I can keep my consoles behind this grating and just close the doors and, at least have some protection. To the sides of my entertainment unit, I have these shelves. Now, these shelves are sort of pricey. They cost about, I believe it was $60 to $70 per, but I did prefer the fact that most shelves that you get nowadays are too deep. So for me, I knew that I was using them mainly to display video games and video game cases. So I didn't want them to be so deep. So I like the fact that when you place a game in the shelf, the spine art kind of sits up in front of the shelf because that's mainly what I use them to display. So I have two of them, and I think it overall gives a really nice look on either side of the television. Now, the shelf on my left, I keep some of the last generation games, the PlayStation 4 games that I really enjoy. Again, I'm not a huge time collector. However, I do keep the games that I know I may play in the future and games that I genuinely enjoyed. So here's a brief look at some of the PlayStation 4 games that I have here. Cyberpunk 2077, I was supposed to return when I moved. I lost my receipt, so I did not actually make the return. So I still have that now. Hopefully they update it and it'll be fun to play. I have a few PlayStation 5 games, very limited collection at this time, but I really am enjoying the console. Some of my Nintendo Switch games. Next to that, I have the GameCube disc that allows for you to be able to use the Game Boy player and some original PlayStation 1 games. Beneath that, I have some of my favorite GameCube games. As you can see, some of the major players are here. Beneath that, I have some Nintendo Wii U games, as well as Nintendo Wii games. Beneath that, I've never been quite so big into the Xbox, but I did play it with my friends. So I do have some of the original Xbox games here, and majority of them are just Halo games. So I have just the Halo games on display. I do enjoy playing some Halo. Xbox One, unfortunately, I don't play it as much as I should. So again, I only have 3 games for that. I have some various 360 games, and this is a special edition of Jurassic Park that I have, one of my favorite movies of all time. Now, taking a look at the other shelf, that's the more of a conversation starter. So on this shelf here, I have some of my original cases, cardboard boxes, I should say, of the original games. I have them in protective sleeves that I picked up from eBay just to kind of protect them as best I can. Top shelf contains the original Super Mario Trilogy 1, 2, and 3 in protective cases. Next to that, one of my favorite consoles ever, the Nintendo 64. I have the collector's edition of Ocarina of Time. I have some other classic hit games there. Beneath that, I have the first console that my parents ever bought me personally. The original NES was actually belonged to my aunt, and I did play a ton of the Nintendo NES, but the first console that my parents bought for me was the Super Nintendo. So over here I have some of the Super Nintendo games on display. And as you can see, I don't have a crazy massive collection. Again, I keep the games that I know mean something to me and I like, to look at. Big into Mortal Kombat. Beneath that, I have some PlayStation 3 games, and I love the Metal Gear Solid series, so I have that series here. I hope that they remake Metal Gear Solid 1, and I hope that somehow they take Metal Gear Solid 4 off of the PS3 and bring it over to the PS5. That would be fantastic. So some scattered PlayStation 3 games. And beneath that, I was never into Sega, but I did see these back in the day. Years ago, I bought Sonic 1, 2, and 3 just to have. A couple more N64 games, including Pokemon Snap, which was another present for me from my mother. And I still remember that day. I was so excited to play Pokemon Snap. I'm excited for the new one and the potential that that one has. Beneath that, I have various PlayStation 2 games. PlayStation 2 was another fantastic console. And beneath that, I have some more original Xbox One games, a random 360 game, and more PlayStation 2 games. Now, going back to the entertainment unit, what do I keep inside the unit for now? I have the Nintendo Switch hooked up. I have, of course, the PlayStation 5 hooked up, and I have the Xbox One X. This shelf here, I keep a couple of random controllers. One of my favorite controllers happens to be the 20th anniversary PlayStation 4 DualShock 4. I love that colorway. I was really hoping that the PlayStation 5 was going to be a little bit more of this type of color, which matches the original PlayStation. So essentially, I keep these things closed to kind of keep them safe. And also to this TV, I have the Apple TV 4K hooked up. And like I mentioned before, it's hooked up to the HomePod, and that provides excellent sound. Now, the TV itself has great speakers, and they do the job for now. I may upgrade soon and get a sound bar, but for now, I'm satisfied with the way the sound is, and it does the job for me. So, like I said, once I walk into this corner, it just reminds me of my childhood. I can just sit down, relax, watch something on YouTube, watch some Netflix, play some games, and whatever else I feel like doing, I just kind of come here to decompress my mind after a long day at work. So now moving on from behind my entertainment setup, I have my desk setup, which actually hasn't changed that much from 2019. If you haven't seen it, please, feel free to check it out on my channel. And again, I wanted to keep it efficient, minimal, and built for maximum productivity. I have the tabletop from IKEA laying on 2 Alex drawers once more. In terms of my main machine that runs the setup, it's a MacBook Pro from 2013. I know I definitely need to upgrade. I'm definitely interested in the M1 MacBook Pro, but I may wait to see what comes out this year. The monitors that I have a 27-inch 4K IPS display from LG, which is fantastic with excellent color accuracy. I also have another 4K monitor. This is from Samsung, and this is a good secondary monitor. Like I said, I do use sometimes a dual setup with both Windows and Mac. In terms of light, I don't keep any light on my desk actually. Instead, I have the BenQ screen bar. I do have a review of that on my channel. Provides excellent light to the desk, illuminates the desk just enough. You can control the brightness as well as the temperature of the light, which makes it very comfortable for reading late into the night. Now, in terms of my desk peripherals, I am using the MX Master 3 as well as the MX keys. They work both with Windows and Mac, and I use one set of peripherals for both. I still like to handwrite a lot of things, so in terms of research, work, ideas for videos. So I do have a planner here, and I still handwrite a planner and keep that on my desk at all times. I have a couple of greenery, fake greenery, which helps, I think make the desk setup look nice, as well as it's good mentally to have some greenery around you. A couple of scattered random pens. The chair that I have is from Staples, nothing fancy. To the left of my desk, I do have a shelf. Again, a very cheap shelf from IKEA. I believe this was like $19.99. Keep some of my books there, some of the books from medical school, some of the books from my internal medicine training, and a lot of the books that I read now due to my radiology training. I have a pair of headphones. I rarely ever use over the ear headphones. However, I do have a pair here. I think it came with as a promotion with an Apple product in the past. On the top of my shelf, I am a Muslim, so I do have the Quran, and I have a couple of Islamic books up here that I do read from time to time, so I keep them here on my bookshelf. To the left of that, I have random surgical equipment. So surgical equipment oftentimes gets expired. If you're good with the techs and the nurses, when they're ready to throw things away that have not been used and are about to get expired, they'll ask me if I want it, so I can have some hands-on exposure and play with some of the surgical tools that we use on a daily basis. So I'm very, very blessed to have it. I have 2 biliary stents, which are basically stents that go into your bile system and help blockages from cancers and other entities. Behind that, I have an IVC filter. This kind of essentially stops blood clots from coming up from your legs and going into your heart. So it's really cool to have this surgical equipment there. And it's funny when I have it next to my entertainment setup in my video games where I have some hardcore surgical equipment. But essentially, besides that, on my wall, I do have my degrees from medical school as well as the Board of Internal Medicine. And it just kind of keeps a reminder of the studying that I have done in the past, and just kind of keeps me motivated to continue studying as I do every single day. And essentially, that's basically it. This is a nice little corner where I come in to get the grind on, and then to my left I have the entertainment unit where I can come here, decompress, and relax. And overall, I think the space is minimal. It's efficient and it gets the job done. It does exactly what I need it to do, which is to help me decompress my mind and also help me get my work done. And I genuinely am very happy with it, and I really do enjoy my time down here. So thank you for watching. That was it. That's my 2021 room tour. I hope you liked it. If you have any thoughts, comments, feel free to leave them down below. If you have any suggestions on other things that I can do to improve my setup, please tell me down below. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and more content coming soon. So until next time.